Welcome inside our MSG Network studios in New York City. I'm Shannon Hogan alongside Butch Goring. Butchie, all the way to the end, the Islanders had their chances, unfortunately not able to capitalize when they had them.
Just a tremendous game, really exciting game from both sides of the ledger. But when you outshoot the opposition as badly as the Islanders did and have as many good opportunities, I mean, you have to score at some point in time. And the longer you leave the opposition into the game, you know something's going to happen. And the inevitable did happen. I mean, and now it's going to be a tough rally for the Islanders. I mean, they played about as hard and about as good as you can possibly play. Created us again so many opportunities, but that's hockey. Obviously, Carter Hart was really good when he needed to be. He gave his team every opportunity in the world to win the hockey game, and you know, that's what makes hockey so exciting. Overtime. Yeah,
it can be really disappointing too, because on a broken stick, that kind of led to the opportunity for the Philadelphia Flyers when the Islanders and the Flyers, both teams trying to do everything they could not to make a little mistake and give the other team that opportunity.
Well, interesting enough, you know, the Islanders, they made a few mistakes, and tonight the luck was not with them. They turned the puck over a couple times, it cost them some opportunities. They gave up a shorthanded goal just when they had all the momentum, and then against Mayfield on an offensive opportunity, he breaks the stick. So sometimes the hockey gods are not always kind, but you know, for the Islanders, they've got certainly one more chance and play another game like they played tonight and dominate like they did, and they just have to be a little sharper around the net.
We watched the roller coaster happen live, but let's buckle up and take the fans through it one more time. Let's go to the first period, Butch, and the Flyers getting on the board first.
Yeah, the Flyers did exactly what they needed just to kind of get themselves into the game, and this man, Kevin Haynes. And when you talk about turnovers, that wasn't a good play by the Islanders, a little loose, just a little flip, and I talked about that in the pregame. And Hayes is such an accurate individual, he just can't make these type of mistakes. The defense was a little slow to get up, close the gap, and then beautiful pass from Konechny over to Hayes. And Flyers have a 1-0 lead, but that's not going to necessarily deter the Islanders, and then going to be down another goal. And you talk about, you know, turnovers, like no one's back, and good opportunity for James Van Riemsdyk, and he just whistles that one by. Varlamov's got real good angle on it, just went underneath his glove just a little bit, but again, you know, a mistake by the Islanders, give an odd man rush. But the Islanders, we've seen them fight back in this entire playoff series, and they're going to find a way. And Brassard is really starting to get on track a little bit as he gets that deflection. He breaks his stick, but the puck does go in. And the Islanders have themselves a goal, and that's not really all they need to start feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, after the first period, Kevin Hayes, James Van Riemsdyk, and Derek Brassard getting on the board. Islanders trailing by a goal. Derek Brassard, as you mentioned, this series 2 goals and 2 assists after working his way back into the lineup. And then, Butch, you go to the second period, and you know it would have been a different feel if the Islanders were down the 2 goals, but they had a little bit of that momentum, and then you look for them to kind of make that push in the second period, which they've done for a lot of this series, and in comes Matt Martin, again, having a fantastic postseason.
That whole line, that might have been their best game, this Zizekas, Clutterbuck, and Matt Martin line. I mean, they were dominant every time they were on the ice. They played that simple game. They're going to play the chip and chase game. They're not fancy. They're going to work along the boards, and they were fabulous in this entire game. And you can see as Casey drives towards the net, he gets tripped up by 61 Braun, and Matt Martin just lets the shot go. Yeah, it, you know, bounces off of Braun, but no big deal. There was a good break there. And this call I do not understand because there was no interference on the play, and even the announcers, Jonesy and Boucher, were saying they couldn't understand it. But the Islanders come back, and a beautiful goal. And talk about when you have the opportunity and a clear shot on this goaltender. He's down, there he is, and Anders Lee makes a beautiful shot. He sends it up in the top of the net, and the Islanders are really starting to roll. But this is a good play by Farabee as he just gets a shot towards the net. And again, the Islanders reaching a little bit. You know, I always talk with Shannon, when you're checking someone, never stop skating. The minute you stop skating, you're going to hook or hold someone, and that's exactly what happened there. But the Islanders have, what a play this is by Barzal, through the legs, up and over the right shoulder. That's just a great shot by Barzal. You don't have to see the net, you just have to know where it is, and that's all he did, is he knew exactly where he wanted to go. So tremendous goal by Barzal, who had an incredibly good game.
Yeah,
tonight.
That whole line really was fantastic, Butch. And you say the scores for the Islanders in the second frame of this one: 4 goals in 15 games for Matt Martin. And Anders Lee now has a goal, 7 shots, 6 hits this series, 4 goals. He has 7 goals in the postseason that's tied for the Islanders' lead, and Matt Barzal and that line were absolutely fantastic. So you go to the third period at this point, Butch. You're feeling good as the Islanders. You're looking to close this game out, and you open the door again.
Yeah, you really do. And they were so good coming out in the third period. I mean, they were dominating play. The Flyers had absolutely nothing going for them, and then they worked hard enough in the offensive zone that they got an opportunity for a power play, and the power play was just sloppy. It was not necessarily blaming Taves. This is a great move by Lawton, but they were sloppy the whole power play, and then they just got loose with it, and then the Flyers make them pay, and all of a sudden it's 4-4. If they didn't get the power play, they probably would have won the game because the Flyers had absolutely nothing going for them. I mean, they just, the Islanders stymied them. They had their typical forechecking game going. They controlled the neutral zone, so everything was going in their way. And unfortunately, the power play, which can be such a great tool for you, turns out to be a horrible tool.
Yeah, the Islanders and the Flyers for the third time in this series going to overtime. Butch and I, we really did do our part. We mixed up where we were standing. AJ sat where she's been all series, and she's been successful. But it only goes so far. Our good luck doesn't really have anything to do with what's happening on the ice. And the Islanders definitely had some great opportunities in the first overtime, Butch.
They really did, and it was Barzal's line. And, you know, we talked about Barzal having to play inside the dots tonight, and that's where he played a lot of his game. He had so much speed through the neutral zone. He created so many problems for the Philadelphia Flyers with his speed through the neutrals. Anders Lee has a tremendous opportunity. Can't get a whole lot on it. He's being held, hooked, and hold. But at different times, there's a play driving to the net. And that's something that Barzal did extremely well tonight. Jordan Eberle, I mean, if he doesn't want any luck. He just wants to be able to score a goal. Forget the good luck, forget the bad luck. Just hit the net, and perhaps he can score a goal. But I feel bad for him because he might have been able to score 5 goals tonight. I mean, he had enough good chances. But to get back to Barzal, I mean, he was driving through the middle of the ice on so many occasions. Give the puck to the outside, drive through, get it back, created several opportunities, or else he was in on the forecheck. And that's when he plays his best. And Barry Trotz realizes that when Barzal's got his legs going and he's finding those holes, he's a very difficult player to play against. And the Philadelphia Flyers really had no answer for Matt Barzal with his game tonight. I mean, fortunately for the Flyers, their goaltender was really, really good. It reminds me of the game from the Vancouver Canucks and the Vegas team from the night before, when Demko stood on his head and the Vegas Thunder, excuse me, not the Vegas Thunder, my old team, Vegas completely outplayed them.
You know, you also are mentioning Matt Barzal and what he was doing, and if you had just tuned into this game and maybe you didn't see him with the shot with his helmet off, I mean, he has obviously stitches right on his eyelid, so
yes.
It appears that his vision doesn't seem to be off at all, but it has to be a little uncomfortable, and really impressive that he was able to get back into this game and be as effective as he was.
Well, you hear everybody talk about it all the time. Hockey players are tough individuals, and they'll do everything they can to get back in the lineup, and it's a little uncomfortable, but once the game gets going, Shannon, the adrenaline's rolling, and your mind isn't on, you know, your injury or how it feels. It's focus on what you need to do out there, and we see it not only with Matt Barzal, but every player in the NHL. I mean, they are amazing athletes. They find ways to play with injuries, and we'll hear after the playoffs are all said and done, there'll be 12 to 15 people that'll have some sort of surgery because they have to play through it, and they know it's a necessity and it's part of the game.
As we were getting set for that second overtime, you looked over and you said, this will be quick. Somebody's going to score in the first couple of minutes. But both teams going back and forth at it again. Some great saves on both sides until Ivan Provorov was able to end this.
Well, I was kind of hoping the Islanders might get it done on the power play early on in that period. But again, good overtime for both teams. I thought the Flyers were a little bit better than in the second period than they were in the first. But there you can see that Mayfield just doesn't know where to go. He's trying to get his stick and everything else, and they're able to hang on to the puck, and I'm not sure he was throwing it to the point, honestly. I think he was throwing it back to the front of the net. Anyway, it ends up right on Provorov's stick, and there's a wild melee in front, and Varlamov can't see it, and very close for me to goaltender interference, as you can see the two of them battling, and I think the puck's by him before Raffl really leans on him a little bit, and a tough way to end the game on a fluky play. And the Flyers have been really fortunate overtime. It hasn't been what I call classic goals, but it doesn't matter. There, as they say in golf, there's no pitchers on the scorecard. There's only wins and birdies.
Yeah, tonight a game-winning goal in the second overtime, and he led all skaters on ice time tonight. Ivan Provorov did this series 2 goals and 2 assists. He has definitely been huge for them. Oscar Lindblom, who was playing in his first NHL game since being diagnosed with a rare form of cancer and really hasn't played in an NHL game since early December. That's a bright spot. You always like to hear those kinds of stories. But Butch, in your opinion, as a former player, do those types of things, a player being reinserted back into the lineup, those kinds of things, do they motivate? Do you think that factors in at all?
I think you feel really good for the player because there was a long road to get back on the ice again. So I think you feel really good, the fact that he's been able to come back and play. But when you get in these situations here, I mean, your focus is on the game. And for the Philadelphia Flyers, their lives were on the game, so to speak. Their season looked like it could come to an end, or certainly had a possibility. So their focus is on there. But I'm sure everybody was thrilled now to win a game with him back in the lineup.